Revolutionary greetings, comrades. In this video, the fourth episode, we are discussing Sudan. And in this fourth episode, we are discussing Omar al-Bashir. Most of you, or most comrades, came to know about Omar al-Bashir when he visited South Africa, where the ICC had insisted that he was to be arrested by South Africa. And of course was not arrested by South Africa, but he gained prominence. And also about the Darfur region war, where millions of people were displaced and others lost their lives. So we look into Omar al-Bashir. We're trying to get to understand what is currently obtaining in Sudan. This is why we are giving this historical background so that comrades can have a clearer picture of what is happening. In 1989, Omar al-Bashir was a colonel, but later on became a lieutenant general. He led a bloodless coup against the government of Sadiq al-Mahdi and established the Revolutionary Command Council for National Salvation to rule Sudan. Bashir was backed by the National Islamic Front, NIF, the political wing of the Salafist Muslim Brotherhood. They opposed not only the Christians in the south, but also South Islam, which was dominant in Sudan. A key player in this coup, that is the coup of 1989, was Hassan al-Tarubi, leader of the National Islamic Front, NIF, and of the Muslim Brotherhood. Although it is well known that the Muslim Brotherhood was formed with the United States support, Tarubi became increasingly anti-imperialist. The United States has a tendency of establishing organizations to destabilize governments all over the world. And I'm sure comrades, which we'll discuss in this YouTube channel later on, are studying closely the utterances by the United States ambassador to South Africa when he spoke about South Africa supplying weapons to Russia. We have learned that he has now apologized. You also remember his utterances. I think it was 2022 when he was saying terrorist attacks were to attack something without taking whatever intelligence information he had to the South African government. But he decided to make a public announcement. And when the alleged weapons to Russia, he again did not engage the South African government. He decided to play to the gallery by addressing a press conference. We will talk about some of these issues. So when Tarubi became anti-imperialist, he developed a conciliatory attitude towards Safis and Shaitis. It was Tarubi, as Speaker of Parliament, who invited Osama bin Laden to Sudan, thus prompting a rift with the USA. And you remember Osama bin Laden, particularly in the days of what the Bush administration characterized as the war against terror after the bombing in the United States. Tarubi had completely fallen out with Bashir, and many in his own party blamed him for the international isolation of Sudan. Osama bin Laden stayed in Sudan from 1992 until 1996, and this seems to have been the main reason for the United States of America to put sanctions on Sudan and for the International Criminal Court to call for the arrest of Omar al-Bashir. The only tool that the United States has against those that it sees not towing its line is the sanctions. Any government that seems not to be towing its line, they simply impose sanctions. They are not signatories of the International Criminal Court, but they use it as a tool to arrest leaders, head of states that they do not agree with, as is the case with President Putin. They are saying South Africa must arrest him if he visits South Africa for the BRICS summit, which is set to take place in August 2023. The United Nations had imposed sanctions on Sudan in 1995, of course with the backing of the United States, because Sudan was deemed to be a state backing terrorism, whatever it means. The Revolutionary Command Council dissolved itself in October 1993. Its powers were then passed to President Omar al-Bashir and the Transitional National Assembly. We spoke in episode 3 about the role of the Revolutionary Command Council. Bashir was committed to imposing the Sharia on the non-Muslim South and to seeking a military victory over the SPLA. This was to lead to a long drawn-out war, which was also going to draw in the many non-Arab Muslim and severely neglected Darfur region in the west of Sudan. During this second war in Sudan, this civil war, about 1.5 million people died, while about 4 million became refugees. The leader who emerged at the head of the SPLA was John Garang, who had been a minister in the first government of Jaffa Nimeri. Garang was an exponent of Sudanese unity based on secularism and federalism. He was opposed to the South becoming independent, but was in favor instead of a federal solution. And those who come from Matabeleland like myself, you'll know that there is us, communists and nationalists, who speak of devolution of power to the people based on national planning. Then there are those in Matabeleland who are for a federal system of governance. We think hold the view that Matabeleland as a region can develop if we adopt federalism as a governing concept. But there are those, of course, who have popularized the name Umtwagas, and in the recent days, if you are in South Africa, you could have heard about a discussion about Umtwagas in Ukhozi FM, who are for restoration, that is to say, to create a separate state from Zimbabwe. But John Garang was opposed to the creation of a separate state, which today we know as South Sudan. He was for federalism. He obtained support from SPLA, SPLM, and this support also came from Libya under the leadership of brother leader Mama Gaddafi, who of course was also killed by the Obama administration, I think in 2011. And he also obtained support, that is John Garang, from Ethiopia under the leadership of Mengistu Haile Mariam, and from Uganda under the leadership of Yoweri Museveni. John Garang was an anti-imperialist. The war against the people of the South took a huge toll, not only directly on human lives, but also on the economy of Sudan as a whole. Serious peace negotiations started in 2002, and the International Department of the African National Congress played an important role in trying to find peace. On the 9th of January 2005, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, CPA, was signed in Nairobi, Kenya. On the 9th of July 2005, at a ceremony in Khartoum, Omar al-Bashir and John Garang signed a power-sharing constitution. Garang was sworn in as vice president of the Republic of Sudan and also becoming premier of South Sudan. This agreement was to last for 6 years, at the end of which there would be a referendum, which would give the people of the South the option of either carrying on with the federal system or seek succeeding. Like I've said, in Matabeleland, you don't talk of secessionist, it's a restoration. The comrades from Togas will tell you about the restoration. On the 30th of July 2005, John Garang had visited Uganda, was with the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni. On his return, his helicopter crashed and he lost his life. I was watching one video where on YouTube where one political analyst was analyzing the circumstances under which John Garang perished in that crash, and was asking these questions: why he was flown at night, and was raising these questions: whether was it Sudan was it Uganda that tempered his helicopter, or it was Sudan? So there are still questions around his death. But what his death meant was that though that favored secession rather than federalism as a governance concept, took over the political leadership of SPLM, and in 2011 South Sudan became an independent state. It should also be noted that the United States of America gained influence in South Sudan after the death of John Garang, and we have said John Garang was anti-imperialist. It should also be noted that even after the independence of South Sudan, much of the south of Sudan remained in the hands of the SPLM North, or in case of Darfur, of JEM, the Justice and Equality Movement, which is made up mostly of African Muslims, especially of the Zangawi ethnic group. So that's about Omar al-Bashir. We will, in the next episode, which will be episode 5, talk about the overthrow of Omar al-Bashir, which will then take us to what is currently happening in Sudan. We are still trying to check a comrade that will give us a proper perspective on what is happening in Sudan, so that we understand what is happening there. Please share your views with us. Like this video. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. like I said in the previous videos, that there are quite a number of Sudanese who are in South Africa who have access to this YouTube channel. Some are comrades in the African Diaspora Forum. Please share with us what is happening in Sudan. What are the lessons that we draw from Sudan? Otherwise, Amandla comrades.